Good morning. My name is Louise Ivers, and I'm the Faculty Director of the Harvard Global Health Institute, your hosts for today. I'm a professor at Harvard Medical School and at Mass General Hospital, and I'm delighted to be here and thank you all for joining us. We're gathering at a time of profound strain on the systems and the institutions that global health has depended upon. 2025 saw the largest contraction of funding for international development, not just by the United States, slashing by at least a half, but also by France, Germany, Japan, and the United Kingdom. And it's not just about the financial aid or the funding. Multilateral cooperation is being rejected in many corners in favor of isolationism. The voices calling for retreat from global solidarity are loud, often violent. Violent words and violent actions have become in some ways a norm, a political norm, but not for all of us. Here we all are. Researchers, clinicians, scientists, students, policymakers, and practitioners from far beyond Harvard, from dozens of countries, dozens of communities together in this room, online 3,000 people watching, to think carefully about what comes next through collective action. This is the fourth Annual Global Health Symposium hosted by the Harvard Global Health Institute. And when we designed this year's theme, which is Global Health Forward, Strength Through Innovation and Collective Action, we did not choose those words lightly. Forward is not a platitude. It's a deliberate insistence that despite everything pressing against us, we have a responsibility to move. Today, we'll examine some of the hardest questions in global health right now. How should priorities be set when resources are very scarce? How do we build health systems that are genuinely prepared for emergencies, not just in theory, but in practice, and in the communities most at risk? How do we train the next generation of health workers in ways that strengthen the system, not take from it? And what does accountable governance look like across the extraordinary diversity of regions and political contexts that make up our world? After our keynote address this morning, our day will move through three major panel discussions, each hosted in partnership with our colleagues across Harvard, for which I'm very grateful. The T.H. Chan School of Public Health, Harvard Medical School, Harvard Law School, and the David Rockefeller Center for Latin American Studies. And these collaborations are not by chance, they're by design. Advancing global health equity won't live within a single discipline. It requires the tools of clinical medicine, public health, economics, ethics, law, design, political science, engineering, and so on. We'll hear today from health systems leaders in Africa and Latin America. We'll examine workforce training models that are strengthening health systems from Rwanda to rural America. And this afternoon, we'll be joined by Evan Wong, the National Youth Poet Laureate of the United States, who will offer a poetry reading. And I want to say something about why that matters and why it belongs in the middle of a global health symposium. The data and the policies that we'll discuss today represent real people. Behind every statistic of vaccine coverage or workforce shortage or emergency preparedness gaps, there are communities with histories and futures, with knowledge and capacity, with enormous resilience in the face of systems that too often have failed them. Poetry reminds us of that. It resists the detachment that technical language sometimes encourages. We need both rigor and humanity to do this work well. I've spent much of my career in places where the gap between what global health promises and what it delivers is stark. But I have also seen what happens when that gap closes, when resources reach communities, when health workers are trained and supported, and when those closest to the problems are leaders of the response, and when systems hold. And what I do know is this: the path forward requires both innovation and accountability. It requires us to be honest about what is failing and to be specific about what must change. And it requires collective action, not as a slogan, but as a practice. So let us keep showing up, as all of you have done today. Let's bring expertise to bear and refuse to accept that suffering at scale is inevitable. Thank you for being here, and let's get to work.